It's been a week since I reached Emerald. I feel like now it's time where I can discuss a little bit on how I went from playing around 1,000 games last season all the way to reaching Emerald this time around. I would like to go through some topics so we can pinpoint which things I believe have caused some of my success compared to the previous season. You know, a little note where it seems like a lot of people are hitting their highest highs in their ranks this season due to, inflation, whatever it is, but it can also be your opportunity, and I just want to share how I did it for me, and hopefully some of these tips may also help you. That's mostly what I'm doing this for. So the first thing I want to point out is when I'm playing ranked, I want to play just a couple of games a day. I don't want to play too much ranked. I don't want to play too little. I want to be consistent. I want to play around 3, 4, 5 games. As long as there's a little bit of a rule on how many games I can play. Sometimes maybe I feel like doing less. Sometimes maybe I feel like doing more. But I want to get my games in. I want to allocate some time of my day to do that. I don't want to go on I have a bit of more free time today, I'm going to queue up for 10 hours in a row. It's just not going to work. So a couple of other streamers can do it. A couple of, people who have been playing the game for years, right? And they can just afford to do that for, their daily lives very consistently and just play over 8 hours a day. Great. But they've done that for years. I cannot just play my best League of Legends and do that for 8 hours whenever I feel like it, right? It's just not gonna work. So what I recommend is you can do yourself a rule where at most you have 2 losses and you're done for the day if you reach those 2 losses. Everything else you can keep playing to keep the wins going. Sometimes we just get a bit unlucky, we'll lose the first 2 games. Should you keep playing? Sometimes you have to be real with yourself. Maybe we have to stop, maybe we're being the problem, maybe we're gonna bring the tilt to the next games. You have to do damage control, you don't have to keep a loser streak going. However, if you played 4 games that day, you won all 4 games, and you want to keep playing, why not, right? Don't just cut the win streak when the win streak is going, if you feel like you have more time. And sometimes you'll feel like you have 2 wins, 1 loss, and you're just done for the day. And that's also perfectly fine. You just have to be a bit real with yourself, especially on the losses. You want to cut down those losses because they will hurt you a lot over time. But with wins, just take them, honestly. Just enjoy them. A big point for being intense with your games is so you can actually be accountable. You can look at your games and say, I did this wrong, and you're not just, looking at other people and, oh, this guy screwed my game. No, you just will that happen sometimes? Yeah. But overall, you need to look at your gameplay, and there's maybe in this part in the laning phase I could have done better. Maybe this death here was terrible. You just have to be able to look at your own things, look at your own gameplay, and be critical of it. Because that's how you're going to improve. You're not going to get better teammates. You're not going to get worse teammates. They're just there. They're going to happen, right? It's just whatever. And what you have to do is play at a high standard for yourself. That's what you need to do. Another thing that I also felt like has held me back a little bit is that I used to have a much safer playstyle where I'd go through some of my games and I'd have very nice CS scores like this 8.6 per minute last season on Jinx, where I would often just not interact with the enemy team. And I think this is a bit detrimental to your growth as a player because you're stopping yourself from reaching situations where you have to get out of it by fighting. You're just I'm gonna wait for the correct opportunity to play, and nothing works out of it. You have to be willing to take risks, make mistakes, and learn from those mistakes. Why do I die here? Why do I lose this fight? How can I outplay it? And then it starts with 1 key ability that you learn, and then 2, and then 3, and then you just think, I will outplay this ability by doing this, by flashing that, by dashing around that, and you make several hypotheses on how you can make things work. You deconstruct the play, and you find out where you need to improve within that play. But you need a lot of repetitions to get there. And to get those repetitions, it's not by just playing very passively, just play safe, die less, get more CS to win the game. Sometimes you actually need to limit test, hands diff your way through a game. Now, of course, you can also be wrong and being I think this is a complete int. I don't want to play this. This is fine. But if you're hitting this very regularly every day, every game, then it can be a bit detrimental and you need to widen the risk you're willing to take. And if you're dying too much, you kind of need to do it the other way around, where you need to be well, this is too risky, I need to take a bit less risks, but I want to fight those fights that I think I will win. The point is to learn. If you succeed with the play, you have a winning angle. If you fail with the play, then it's a learning experience and something that you can improve. Dying with intention isn't inting, it's limit testing, okay? Other tips you hear a lot as well for people that are improving at ADC are always like, hit something, just always deal damage, whatever. Sometimes it's not always the right way. What you need to do is play with intention. For example, you have 2 waves in the middle. You don't just have to right-click the wave. Maybe sometimes you want it to push into you so you can play a little bit closer to your tower. Sometimes maybe you just want to slow push the first wave. You have to generate a strategy that you believe is going to work. So for example, you can think I'm gonna slow push the first wave and crash the second wave. Or I'm gonna hold this freeze here so I can force the enemies to walk up and I can get a more extended trade. Or I'm gonna push them into tower and then I'm gonna put vision down and I'll keep poking the enemies with spells and waste the enemy jungler's time. All of these are perfect. You just have to make a plan on which things are going to unfold and which scenarios are going to see and which ones you want to play and which ones you don't. The very important part is having intention on how you're playing. And this doesn't extend to just the wave, but also how you play the matchup, right? If you're playing a more aggressive lane into a less aggressive one, where are the points that you can explore them? Are you strong enough level 1 to force a fight? What abilities do you need to force a fight? Do you need to wait for level 3? Do you need to wait for your ultimate? What do you do in between? If you make plans on how these things will work out, you can learn from it. You can see, okay, maybe this was wrong, then the correct thing is to do this. At the end of the day, you can always look up a pro VOD on how they play the champion you're going for in a similar matchup or the exact same matchup and go from there. Just see how other people do it and apply the things you like to your own gameplay. But to wrap up, probably the most important thing for me that I've done this season has been one-tricking Yunara. So before I used to always have like my tight main pool, cycle out champions, things like that, maybe experiment with others still in ranked. And this season, I've done none of that. I have just played Yunara as much as I can. If Yunara is picked or banned, then I'll go Kais or Smolder. I had this autofill Orin game. Yeah, we don't talk about that, okay? That was terrible. That was really bad. We don't talk about it. But it's been as many games as possible. Just play out my one trick. Now, not everybody can one-trick a champion because sometimes you just don't feel out any one-trick champs, and that's okay. Make a 2-champ pool, one that you're happy blinding, one that you'd like to have as a counter pick when you don't want to play your own champion. This being said, as I play ADC, I do usually try to first pick a lot. So for me, like always playing Yunara, I find her she's blind pickable. I just want to play Yunara every game and I just first pick her. Just play like 2 champions. Just reduce the difficulty of the game. Don't think about abilities. You just think about the game because then it's very consistent. You're going to know, okay, I know I spike at this point. I'm going to play this. You have very well-determined plans. That's the really important part. It does cycle into what I was saying earlier. It's all about plans. You can make good plans. You can make good strategies. Then you can execute upon these. Amazing. It's going to be perfect. Thank you for listening to my app session. Hope your ranked season is going well so far. And if any of these tips help you out, let me know.